2 more chances for Michigan State to get 2 wins at home to make a bowl game, and I'm not feeling too confident about it for the first time all season. Let's go.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode of Locked On Spartans is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On Spartans. It's your team in green and white 5 days a week right here in the Locked On Podcast Network. Please rate, review, subscribe, comment below if you're optimistic or pessimistic about Michigan State getting those final 2 wins needed to make a bowl game. We're going to get to basketball here later on in the third segment, but football's going to dominate here. Segments 1, segments 2, whether you like it or, quite frankly, whether you still care or not. We've gotten a few emails in the mailbag about how apathetic they are to the rest of the season, and I got to say, I'll lean in for this one. I can't blame you. It's just been not fun. We're going to start here, though, with a mailbag question. And ironically enough, this is what I wanted to start this episode with, is talk about Michigan State's bowl chances. So when I went on Twitter, I said, hey, guys, please and thank you, send in your mailbag questions. Well, Patrick came in with a 3-pack of questions. The first one, confidence level we make a bowl game. How many years does Izzo have left? And concern level for disappointing football recruiting. Okay, I'll answer those backwards really quick. The football recruiting, not in a good spot. Can it get better? Yes, we're going to go more on recruiting on tomorrow's show. Okay, we're going to try to have a guest lined up for that conversation too. How many years does Izzo have left? Like a Supreme Court justice, he's going to be there until he kicks the bucket, I'm convinced. But let's go to the big question, confidence level we make a bowl game. And guys, for the first time all season, going into the season, if you listened to the show, if you didn't, we said 7-5 from the mountaintops. You know, sure, the over-under in Vegas is only 4.5 or 5 wins, depending on what you got the number at. But I'm confident. I think the schedule sets up nicely. Michigan State does have some redeeming qualities. Of course, 7-5 has flown out the window. Bowl eligibility is still here, but I'm sorry it took me this long. Maybe this is on me to see 6 out of the last 7 games become losses, and a lot of beatings in those losses too. I'm not confident that this team makes a bowl game. Hope I'm wrong. Praying that I'm wrong. I would love nothing more than to be wrong. But wow, has my confidence faded completely. And you know what? Is it just because that they've been getting the tar kicked out of them? It's not close losses that they're having. It's kind of reminiscent of last year that, well, it seems like they're getting rolled in a lot of these games. Yeah, possibly. But it's why they are getting rolled. Because how do you win football games in high school, in college, in the NFL? Well, it starts at the trenches, right? It starts in that offensive line, defensive line. It's not the sexiest thing to talk about, but damn it, that's how you win football games, or that's how you keep football games close at least. And look, it's not a total abject disaster for Michigan State because part of the trenches is, well, stopping the run. Hey, well, Michigan State on its best day is fine at stopping the run. Even better than that, well, Rutgers is below average at running the football this year. Purdue, your opponent this Friday, they're also below average at running the football. They're below average at a lot of things, those Boilermakers are. But also, what's Michigan State decent at sometimes is getting the run going. Now, when I say sometimes, we are truly talking far and few between. It's not the greatest rush attack. We've seen it work against Iowa. Michigan, it wasn't horrible against Illinois, but what's going well for you right here is that Purdue and Rutgers are the 2 worst Power 4 teams against the run that you will face all year. If you're going to go back to the Iowa game and see a replication of that run game, well, it's going to be against these 2 opponents, you hope. But here's where the concern really lies, guys. All right, you probably already know where I'm going with this. A, because you've seen it the last few Saturdays, and B, we've been talking about it because it's been an issue here. Number 1, protecting your passer. Yes, Aiden Childs. He needs some protection. He needs help. And even if he had all the help in the world, he still has some things that he has to fix himself. Turnovers, which he did last week. We got to give him credit for that. But tell you what's not going to help him. 23 pressures allowed in the last game. 31 pressures in the game before that. 23 in the one before that. And then 19 against Iowa. Guys, he is the number 12 most pressured quarterback in football. He is facing pressure on 37.1% of his dropbacks. Now, again, Purdue, not the greatest team in the world, but they do love themselves a blitz. They blitz more than a dozen times per game. Like they love trying to get after the quarterback by any means necessary. And, well, you don't really need to blitz often to get to our quarterbacks. So it could be another hairy Friday evening for Aiden Childs. I will say, I can fully acknowledge that, yes, Michigan State somehow is 13.5-point favorites for Friday night. Purdue is an abysmal team, but it's not like that we're seeing any glimmers of hope for Childs getting protection here. And that's only, one half of the big issue. The other half, well, take a trip with me on the other side of the line. It's getting to the other team's quarterback. This has been atrocious. Horrific. There isn't a word in the English dictionary that can aptly describe how horrendous the pass rush has been for Michigan State pretty much this whole year after you got done playing your CYO teams to start the year. They had 12 pressures last game, which, cool. That matches their total from the previous 5 games combined. 12 pressures is still, average, if that. We all know the stat by now. If you watched the game last week against Illinois, they flashed it proudly on the Fox Sports 1 screen, and I'm glad they did because it perfectly illustrates how horrible things have gotten here. It is now 6 games in a row that Michigan State has not recorded a sack. That is the longest streak in FBS football since 2005. 2005. Guys, what were you doing 19 years ago? Some of these guys on the team weren't even alive then. How has it gotten this bad? Now, they finally, this is something we talked about before last week's game, they finally tried a little more blitzes in the second half of that game because apparently it took 11 halves of a sample size to realize that, a 4-man pass rush is never going to get home. Still, you leave yourself susceptible to, your issues in the secondary, and this is where another problem really lies. Now, Smith said this after the game against Illinois. He also reiterated it in his press conference today on Monday. Charles Brantley, very doubtful to return the end of the year. Okay, Malik Spencer, it's another starting secondary guy, also doubtful to return by the end of the year. Chance Rucker, also doubtful. That's 2 bona fide starters, Brantley and Spencer, and then Chance Rucker, a guy that, has starter ability, that are out. So you're playing guys like Jalen Thompson, a true freshman, then Caleb Coley, a guy that went into last week. I don't think he even had 30 snaps of football under his belt until last week's game. So you are starting some inexperienced players back there behind a pass rush. Well, that just isn't a pass rush. You can't get home. So yeah, it's just Purdue and it's Rutgers, and they're both at home, which, by the way, better see Spartan Stadium filled to the gills based on all the conversation last year about the Penn State game being moved to Ford Field. Better see 70,000 strong at Spartan Stadium. I said it was good moving the game to Ford Field every once in a while, but a lot of upset people. That senior day got taken away. A home game got taken away. So, hey, Ford Field was sold out for a Michigan State game where we knew the Spartans were going to get fed to a wood chipper in that game. With actual stakes here, making a bowl game. Everyone that emailed me and tweeted at me saying that it was kind of BS that they didn't have a last game at Spartan Stadium. We'll see you there Friday night and the following Saturday, 3:30. So, yeah, no, it helps that they're both home. I doubt they'll even be half-full stadiums. Hopefully I'm wrong here. That's enough negativity. You guys want some optimism? Okay, well, let's go through some bowl projections here because there are some outlets out there that think Michigan State will make a bowl game. It's all the same bowl game, though. The Action Network, they have you in the Detroit Bowl. A lot of these guys call it the Detroit Bowl, even though it's called the Game Above Sports now. Sports Bowl now. Action Network has you against Buffalo. 24/7 Sports has you against Eastern Michigan. CBS has you against Miami of Ohio. ESPN, one of the guys, has you against Ohio. So, of course, all MAC teams, that's the split for that bowl game in Detroit. Now, you can get into a bowl game with the 5-7 record. I will caution you this, though. It might be a little tough for Michigan State to make it because what's that decided on? Amongst the 5-7 teams, it isn't brand name. It's APR score. That's what it is. How well you did in the classroom the season prior. Michigan State, they're somewhere in the 50s or 60s, so you're going to have a few teams say no before they get to you as a 5-7 team. So, yes, you do need to win these final 2 games. Hope that was enlightening for everyone here. So quite often, many times in the same week, like last week, we've been getting called too positive about the football team. We've been getting called too negative. If you're one of the people that did not like the negative talk, I'm sorry for that segment, but there's one thing I'll never do to you guys. It's BS you or give you the runaround or say things that I don't mean. And I got to say, with how horrendous the trenches have been at getting to the passer and protecting the passer, I'm not confident in 2 wins here to end the season. As bad as Rutgers and Purdue are, guys, I'm sorry. I can't do it. All right, guys. Hey, we got more sunshine to talk about here in a hot second. But first, I need to talk your ears off about Roy. Lot of conversation about NIL going on lately. Well, hey, Spartan fans, listen up. You need to download the Roy app. You have heard us talk about Roy this season and how they are revolutionizing the NIL industry. Roy allows you, the fan, to have a say in who gets the NIL money. And here's what I absolutely love about Roy. You get your money back if that player transfers. Roy is helping us keep our teams intact, and it's actually good for the game long term. You can show your support for all sorts of players on Michigan State by depositing a little appreciation into those players' accounts. To do that, download the Roy app, and you can see the logo right there, right at you. And guys, go to joinroy.com if you want to do it that way too. Now let's spotlight the Roy Lockdown Player of the Week. We're going to go with Isaiah Johnson for the Locked On Spartans Roy Player of the Week. We're going to throw a little bit of money into his account on Roy after a great game for the young redshirt freshman. Every contribution matters, 10, 20 bucks. It all adds up, and it's going to help keep your favorite players in East Lansing. Join me and show some love for Isaiah Johnson or anyone else out there, guys. Download the Roy app or go to joinroy.com today. Use promo code LOCKEDON. Every athlete from every team is there. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Go to joinroy.com for full terms. Roy, support the players, change the game. Also, Game Time, the greatest ticketing app out there. Need to talk your ears off about it. Let's say you got no Friday night plans. You want to be in Spartan Stadium, but you're wondering, well, what kind of ticket prices will we be looking at here? Guys, this game has some outstanding ticket prices, and save even more with the flash deals going on at Game Time. I know we're just a few days out. You still start saving money right now. Or let's say Friday. Oh my goodness gracious, someone canceled a date on you, or you realize that you have no Friday night plans when you get out of work. Well, save money at Game Time too. Their last minute ticket deals are second to none. You can save big bucks on great seats just as you walk into Spartan Stadium, even a little after kickoff, guys. It is the greatest app out there. Download the Game Time app today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege. That's all one word, LOCKEDONCollege, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, guys, download the Game Time app today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. What time is it? It's game time. All right, let's keep swimming in this mailbag here. 2 ways to reach out to me, guys. On Twitter, Sheehan_sports or LockedOnSpartans@gmail.com. Logan writes in. Now, this one had some imagery that I'm going to just try to work my way through here. I'll try to describe the picture to you. If MSU football in 2 years only has a combined 10 wins, will you agree this picture is seriously true? Love the podcast. Hope to hear your response on tomorrow's show. Thanks a lot, Logan. So the picture, long story short, is comparing Jonathan Smith to, well, John L. Smith, the infamous coach from in the mid-2000s. He did outstanding work here. No, look, if he has 10 combined wins, let's say that, they do go 6-6 this year. Woohoo. Or let's say they just go 5-7. If you win 5 games next year in the 2025 schedule, I get a rebuild takes time. That's really bad. It can't take this much time. Not in the transfer portal game. Just point blank. Now, let's go through the schedule right now. They have the 2025 opponents. Only the non-conference are scheduled. All the Big Ten opponents are not scheduled. We just know who we're playing, where we're playing them. So right now, okay, Western Michigan, you should win that game. Youngstown State, you should win that game. Boston College, all at home. I think you should win that game. Now, Maryland at home, yeah, you should win that game. Michigan, big offseason for them coming up. They got a lot of issues to address. You might be able to win that game. Penn State, I'm going to give that one an And then UCLA, you should win that game. Now, your away games, Indiana, I know they're going to lose a lot this year, but Kurt Cignetti's a nice coach, so, yeah, I don't know. Iowa might be able to win that game. Minnesota on the road might be able to win that game. Nebraska might be able to win that game. And then USC, they don't really move me. You might be able to win that game. For those keeping score at home, that's 5 shoulds, 5 mights, and 2 ads. I don't really believe in the Indiana game on the road or Penn State at home. Regardless of the 5 shoulds, and let's say you just get 3 of the 5 mights, Well, that's 8 wins. I think that has to be the standard next season. Of course, we don't know anything about next year's team as far as what the roster will look like with the transfer portal, all this, and that. And that goes for every team, too, that we just named off. It's not Michigan State that's going to be the only team transforming this in this offseason. But right now, yeah, I don't think I'm going too ahead of my skis to saying that you should be getting 8 wins next year. If you're a series program, I think that's the bar right there. Am I predicting 8 wins? No, but you should be able to win 8 games. If you go out and you just win 5 games this year, okay, fine, whatever. Year one of a rebuild. No one's going to be happy about it, but all right, that's the excuse right there. Year one of a rebuild, a lot of injuries, lack of depth, whatever. Go back. Don't address anything in the offseason. If not, lose a key player or 2, and then you still win 5 games next year. No. Close up shop. Go ahead. Put up the John L. Smith picture. Put up any picture for that matter. That you cannot excuse, winning 5 games next year, unless like a meteor strikes the practice facility and it wipes out all 22-year starters on both sides of the ball. That's the only way you could possibly excuse something like that. All right, Ryan writes in, any potential changes for position coaches this offseason? Haven't seen much progress from the D-line this year. No, Ryan, you're not inspired by 6 straight games without a single sack. That's not really moving the needle for you. No, I would be surprised if they do move any coaches. And not to say that, a coach won't take another job somewhere else. I'd be a little surprised if Smith fires a guy just because, well, he's pretty loyal to his guys. Kind of like D'Antonio was in his later years. Kind of like we saw Mel Tucker be loyal to his guys too. A lot of coaches are loyal to their guys, but especially year one, under a rebuild. I know that we don't want to hear it as fans, but truly, like from a coach to coach, I don't think he's going to can his guys just because it went a little wonky this year with trenches that are just talent-wise below average. So that's not to say he won't. Like, Smith did fire his defensive coordinator mid-season back in 2021. Like, this isn't Mark D'Antonio, who will never, ever, ever, ever fire anyone at the end of his tenure. Like, he has shown that he will do it. I just don't think it'll be in the offseason after year one of a rebuild, which it's not just me saying that. Jonathan Smith has ad nauseum said rebuild, so that you clearly know where his mind is at right there. That's what I think. I don't think there's going to be any big coaching changes unless a coach himself leaves. It won't be by termination. Sparteen 1963. This is a nice question. Are the offensive struggles a blessing because teams will be less likely to target Childs, or a curse because Childs won't want to play another year behind a rebuilding O-line and he looks for a better situation? It's the second part. It's a curse. Look, Childs obviously has had his issues so far this season. Turns the ball over a lot, but like we've been talking about, so much so that I know some of you out there are pounding your head against the drywall right now, but he's one of the more physically gifted quarterbacks in college. Doesn't matter what stat line he throws up, there are going to be more than a few handfuls of college coaches out there, more than a few handfuls of offensive coordinators out there that thinks they could break this stallion. Like that thinks that, okay, if he just comes into my system, we can fix him, because those are legs and that's an arm that you just do not come by every year in college football. He would have no shortage of suitors if he entered the transfer portal. And that's a promise. Okay, so I think it's more of a curse. I don't want to alarm anyone. I don't think that Childs will enter the portal. I'm not losing sleep over this, but just to answer the question, if anything, yeah, I can see Childs after facing up to 120 pressures in the last month of the season at this rate, that, I might want to go somewhere where I'm a little more protected, got more skill position players than just Nick Marsh I could throw to, and maybe, a new offensive system that I could flourish a little better. I think if you had to pick between, hey, is it a good thing or a bad thing? I would just go with the bad ththing. I would not worry about it. Am I saying for sure he's not leaving? Absolutely not. That percentage will never be 0 for any player in the history of time. Just to answer the question, that's where I'm at right there. Don't lose too much sleep on it. Try not to, at least. But that's what we got. Now Jack writes in. Oh, Jack listened to a few offseason shows. We got some things right in the offseason. We also got some things not right in the offseason. Like this. Jack writes in. How do you feel about Ed Woods now? Because I know you were high on him when he transferred. Sorry about that, guys. It's been tough for Ed Woods. Now, look, I'll make an excuse for him right now. How easy is it to play cornerback when the quarterback throwing the ball never has a guy in his face? Hey, you got to cover a guy for 5, 6, seemingly 45 seconds every single game. look, I'm not saying that Ed Woods is great shakes this season. He has been a little underwhelming, I got to say. Nothing is helping him, though. He's getting no help out there whatsoever. He actually got 2 pressures last week because they've had to start blitzing guys like him because nothing else is working. But he is allowing a career high 63% completions on passes that he is targeted in. Like that, it has been a step back for Ed Woods. Again, I don't think the pass rush is doing him any favors, but yes, that one might have been a little too praiseful in the offseason. Not the transfer that we were the most wrong about this offseason, though. That's right. Yeah, if I'm going to give crap to the offensive line and the defensive line for being, so bad this season, I'll give myself crap too. I whiffed on Quindarius Dunnigan big time. And he really showed that he could do it. Like second team All-Conference USA. I know that's not first team All-SEC by any means, but I thought he'd be a little productive this season. You listening at home have been just as productive as him. That was bad. The Ed Woods, kind of missed on. Pass rush not doing him any favors. Well, how about a pass rusher that we got out of the portal? I haven't seen anything from him. Hey, basketball coming up soon, guys. We'll even get to hockey and a few other sports really quick, but first need to talk your ears off about Mint Mobile. That is right, new friend of the program. I love a great deal as much as the next guy, but I'm not going to crawl through a bed of hot coals just to save a few bucks. It has to be easy, no hoops, no BS. So when Mint Mobile said it was easy to get wireless for $15 a month with the purchase of a 3-month plan, well, I called them on it. It turns out, yeah, it really is that easy to get wireless for $15 a month. Nothing costs $15 a month these days. That's crazy. The longest part of the process was the time I spent on hold waiting to break up with my old provider. It's like a breakup call. It was brutal. To get started, go to mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. There you'll see that right now all 3-month plans are only $15 a month, including the unlimited plan. All plans come with the high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. That's simple, guys. Find out how easy it is to switch to Mint Mobile and get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. That's mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. All right, guys, we'll change up the pace here. Hopefully, you guys are still hanging around. I know that wasn't the rosiest 2 segments that we just did here, but I'm not going to see a hurricane outside and tell you that, oh, yeah, it's sunny and 80. Things are going great, actually. No, it's been brutal. So thank you very much for all the mailbag questions, guys. We still got a few more lockedonspartans@gmail.com I want to try to get to later on this week. But right now, we'll still take questions just in different sports, right? Like Mario writes in, not a question, but I think we need a hockey segment this week to boost morale. And what a great time to boost morale right here, Mario. Now, your number 2 ranked Michigan State hockey team. That's right. Rankings just came out before we hit the record button here. Number 2. They are off to a 9-1 start. They swept Notre Dame over the weekend, I think 8-3 in the first game, and then a hairy 4-3 game on Saturday. So they just keep on churning out wins over there. Women's basketball, too. They beat Western Michigan. They started 5-0 on the year. Volleyball, who hasn't had the greatest season, well, I don't tell them that, as they got a sweep over Iowa on the road. So it's been solid. And, of course, the stress-free basketball win against Bowling Green. It was great. We were just relaxed the entire game. Let's talk about basketball here because a lot of you did have some basketball questions, like Bleeding Spartan, asking the $1 million question that's on everyone's mind right now. Who is our shooter? How many games can you win without one? To refresh everyone's memory, in case you haven't been really hip to how bad the shooting's been so far this year, Michigan State shooting it from behind the arc at a smooth 20%. 20%. I had a few friends that had higher hit rates at Rick's at 2 in the morning than 20%. That's how bad that is. That is 359th in the nation, guys. That is 6th worst in Division I basketball. It's not the worst in the state, Oakland University is actually behind Michigan State in this metric. That'll be a great game at Little Caesars Arena coming up in December. I bring your earplugs for that one. That's going to sound like bombs going off. Anyway, look, where are you going to get the shooter? Jaden Akins every third game can be a shooter. But, okay, I'll stop being snarky. I'll stop being sarcastic. Yes, shooting will be an issue throughout the whole season. We said as much when we mentioned that, Trey Holloman, Jaden Akins, they're the only two guys that returned last year, even transfers included like Frankie Fiddler, that shot the ball over 36% from three. Okay, you only have two of those guys. Both are pretty streaky shooters, right? But here's what won't happen the rest of the season. Like Jaden Akins, he won't be a 12% shooter from three the rest of the season. There's just no way he keeps on shooting that horribly. That's only going to go up. We've seen him be up and down throughout his entire career. Like, he will always be a streaky player, but we've also seen a big enough sample size to know that he can shoot the ball. Frankie Fiddler, well, he also won't be at 12% the whole season. I think that he'll get somewhere up to like 32, 34-ish% eventually this season. Trey Holloman, like he is right now, he won't be at 25% all season either. He shot it at 42%. That would be a catastrophic decline if he just really lost almost 20% the whole season long. Xavier Booker, he won't be shooting 14% all season long. So those percentages are going to go up. All right, like it will not be hovering around 20% the entire season. At least I hope not. That would be really fluky if those guys that I just mentioned shoot the continued numbers of where they're at right now. Now, will it be high enough to replicate the old like Bryn Forbes Michigan State teams? No, it will always be bad. I've been very clear on that, but there is hope that like it can almost quite literally only get better from here. Now, I think it was interesting. I don't know if it was a panic by Izzo as much as it was just I'm trying anything I can, but I think it was very interesting that Kurtang was thrown into that game in the first half down 10 against Bowling Green. The first half minutes for Kurtang, I don't think Izzo ever wanted to do that with Kurtang, especially in a game that he's losing. Sure, in a perfect world, he thought that he'd be up 15 when he gets first half minutes. But yeah, he had to break the glass on him, basically saying we got to get any shooter out there to get us back in this game. So I don't think it will be Kurtang as the answer. We're going to get to him in a little bit more. But I think it's just you got to focus on the guys that have shown they can shoot in the past just to get a little better. Now, the second part of that question, can you win games without shooting? I mean, last year, Iowa State and Arizona, like they both won enough games to get 2 seeds in the NCAA tournament. Both of those teams shot below 35% on the season. They each made the Sweet 16. I'll also say this, though. 3-point shooting was a reason they ended their season in the Sweet 16. Both of them shot horrendously against their opponents. I think Iowa State lost to Miami and Arizona lost to Houston, I believe. Neither team shot above 23% in those respective games. So, like, it's nice to have shooting. Can you win without it? Of course, like Michigan State just did it against Bowling Green. And they also did it with the lack of transition points, which I thought was fascinating. But better to have it than to not have it. Luke writes in, why are Tang and Norman not getting minutes when we are struggling to shoot threes? Now, Luke also did write in parentheses, I understand Norman just got hurt, so could be why. That's the answer for Norman right there. He had a knee injury, missed a few weeks leading up to the season. I know that doesn't really seem like a lot. Like, oh, well, he didn't miss any games or anything. That development in fall camp really does mean something. And, of course, he has no game experience last year, so really has to get acclimated on the fly here coming off of an injury. And I really all hope it comes back for Norman because I go back to his high school recruiting tape, which I loved. Thought he had a lot of moxie. I hope he gets that moxie back. I hope he gets that confidence back, that chip on his shoulder, whatever cliche you want to use, because look, he's played very sparingly. I hope the game does come to him somewhat soon. But Kurtang, it's just defense right now. I don't think he's that quick to defend on the wing. You also have stronger defenders ahead of him. Guys like Jason Richardson, of course, Jaden Akins, strong defender on the wing. So that's it. If you want to play under Tom Izzo, you got to play some defense. I'm not saying that Kurtang is horrible on defense, but it's just not where it has to be for him to be playing 15, 17 minutes a night, for example. So that's why. Again, we saw maybe a little panic, maybe not, in that first half against Bowling Green, where Izzo's saying, well, I need shooting from literally anyone right now. I don't care how bad you are at defense. It has happened. Green Apple writes in. Sorry, they just use the green apple emojis, so that's what name we're going to use here. Do you think Kohler is starting at the 4 long-term, or at least until Booker gets it together? I think it's long-term. And I'll just answer it straight up right now. I think that's going to be a long-term move because, by point blank, Kohler's just better than Booker right now at everything. Even three-point shooting, Kohler has a higher percentage on right now. But Kohler also is, right now, your best rebounder on this team. I mean, he really shows a lot of effort on defense. I know it's not perfect, especially against DJ Burns Light, against Bowling Green, but who was defending that guy well? I think it is Jackson Kohler. I think he gives you a better start offensively. He is a guy that you can give the ball to in the post and get a bucket. And Xavier Booker, despite gaining 22 pounds in the offseason, just really doesn't have any interest in going into the post and being that kind of a player, which is driving me crazy. I'm not the only one being driven crazy by this. We'll end on a very mean question right now. This is from Zamakok. I'm not saying that right, but whatever. The question is, what will we get first? A, room temperature superconductor. B, artificial general intelligence. Or C, a single possession with effort and energy from Xavier Booker. That is mean. It's probably A or B, though. Gotta say. Look, I'm not saying that you gotta scream all the time, slap the floor all the time, or just, be the most emotional player of all time, but I would like to see some emotion every once in a while. Izzo always talks about, hey, his players gotta not just like it, not just love it, but they gotta live it. I'm not sure if we get any of those three. It's been a real slow start to the season here for Xavier Booker, as said. He's due for an outbreak performance. Hopefully it's against Samford. Sorry we've been light on the Samford talk today, guys. On yesterday's show, we talked a little bit about Samford at the end of that one. So if you need a preview, go hop on yesterday's show. We will be back after that Samford game. We are going to talk Michigan State football recruiting. Again, trying to have a guest lined up for that one, but yeah, guys, you already know it. Locked on Spartans. We got a full rack of shows ahead of you before leading up to kickoff. Boilermakers, Spartans. Catch the energy. I will be at that game. I am very excited to go. First time at Spartan Stadium all year. I hate to admit that, but yeah, it's been a busy life over here. I'm thrilled to get to Spartan Stadium on Friday night. Hope you guys are too. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for hanging out. You guys are the best. Love every single one of you. Go Green.